Hey guys, Shayna from the Mom Edit here, and today I want to talk about what to wear skiing. First things first, a couple ground rules. You wear what you want. You wear what makes you feel good. That is always the thing. But if you think I'm about to recommend a ski outfit that looks like this or that, this is not your video. I found that very few people actually wear those on the hill, and they are definitely not required. That's more of like a blogger outfit than it is an actual skier outfit. So that's not what this video is about. We're gonna talk about what to actually wear when you're actually skiing. Just a brief background of why I'm talking about what to wear skiing, because God knows I'm not the world's most expert skier. For the last, over a decade now, my kids have been in either alpine ski race programs or freestyle ski competition programs or snowboarding competition programs, which basically means that for 10 years, my husband and I have spent every single weekend in the winter on a ski hill somewhere, basically all day. We've skied out west, we've skied in Canada, we've skied all over in all conditions. When I first started skiing, I looked up so many articles on what to wear and how to layer and how to do it properly, and they were all so annoyingly non-committal, and it is because it's so dependent on like who you are, what you're doing, and where you're skiing. This is my attempt to create the video that I wish I had found all those years ago. So let's get into it. All right, to get dressed for skiing, there's really 3 layers that we're going to talk about. There's an outer layer, a mid layer, which is optional, I'll get into that, and a base layer. Let's start with the outer layer, because that is the most expensive, the most exciting, and it's also going to determine what your mid layers and base layers look like. When we're talking about outer layers, whether it's a ski jacket or ski pants, there are 2 things that you have to decide. One is the insulation level, and the other is the waterproofing. There are basically 3 main jacket types that I think are worth considering. First up is what I like to think of as like a classic ski jacket. It has a little bit of waterproofing and a little bit of insulation. It's not gonna be the warmest jacket in the world, and the waterproofing is usually in the 5 to 10K range, which means that if it's a little wet, you'll be fine, but you're not gonna survive a downpour. If you happen to ski out west, this might be the only jacket you need. Out west tends to be like a lot drier conditions, a lot more moderate temperatures. You're not usually dealing with negative 18 degrees, for example. That said, if you're a pretty die-hard East Coast skier, this jacket may not hold up to all of the varying conditions that you have to deal with. So it's not gonna be great in rain, it's not gonna be great in heavy wet snow, and it's not gonna be warm enough in some of those really cold temps if you're that far north. That said, for most people, most of the time this jacket's gonna be just fine. You can also find it at lower price points, which is great. My favorites are Half Days. Burton makes some, but then you can also find some like more cost-effective brands like Roxy, even on Amazon, or Backcountry will result in a bunch that are just like this, that are a little bit insulated, a little bit waterproof, standard ski jacket. It's great. The other option that I think is maybe the most flexible ski jacket option is a shell. These jackets are almost always Gore-Tex, which means that the waterproof rating is off the charts. It's higher than the 10% K waterproofing. It's higher than 20%. It is like the most waterproof jacket you can ever find. These jackets also tend to resist the wind really, really well. That said, they have no insulation, like literally none. And so if it's a really cold day, the only way you're gonna stay warm is by layering up. While these shell jackets are really versatile, and in fact, there's like, if you're spring skiing, there's nothing better than a shell. They are a little bit of a challenge to stay warm. You are gonna have to invest in some really good mid layers. I like Burton's waterproof shells. North Face has a couple really good chic looking ones. Yeah, those are my top 2 choices for waterproof shells. Okay, so the third option for a ski jacket that I really like is a ski puffer jacket. This is not your everyday puffer. I wouldn't necessarily recommend wearing an everyday puffer to ski, although you could if you were literally skiing once and never again. The risk though to the everyday puffer is that ski puffer jackets are made with a material that's like a little bit more durable. So if you fall, it's not gonna rip. They tend to be, because the ski puffer jacket is literally only used to keep you warm in like really rough conditions, they usually have a higher waterproofing level than even standard ski jackets, typically. Ski puffers are usually in the 10 to 20K waterproofing range. They're also incredibly warm. The one big downside of a ski puffer jacket is if it's hot at all, like if you're spring skiing or if you're just like going really hard, I overheat pretty easily in a ski puffer. My favorite ski puffer, by the way, comes from Half Days. Hands down, it's freaking amazing. And they have redesigned it since they first came out with it. Actually, they've redesigned it and tweaked the design a little bit every year, and this year's version is phenomenal. But yeah, so those are the 3: regular, the shell with no insulation, and then a ski puffer with mad amounts of insulation. All right, so ski pants. Let's talk about ski pants. A couple things to consider. The biggest one is bibs or just like regular ski pants. And while people like to say that they can't really go to the bathroom easily in bibs, I mean, you can't really go to the bathroom that easily in like head to toe ski gear anyway. And so I don't find that bibs are the discriminating factor here. I think it really comes down to, you know, one, are you gonna fall? And two, if you do happen to fall and you get snow down your back, is that gonna ruin your day? If the answer to either of those questions is yes, then you should stay with ski bibs. For pants, we have to talk about waterproofing. If you sit down on the chairlift and there happens to be snow on the seat, you're gonna appreciate a waterproof bib or a waterproof ski pant just so you don't end up with a wet butt from the chairlift. Here's a couple of guidelines. If you are a skier rather than a snowboarder, and or if you are out west where things are just a lot drier, you can probably get away with a waterproofing rating of 10K. If you are a snowboarder, however, 10K is not gonna cut it. I think for snowboarders, you really need to look for ski pants that are 20K waterproofing or higher, or they're just completely Gore-Tex. For myself, I have found that 10K is usually enough for me. I'm not a snowboarder. I don't spend that much time falling. And so 10K seems to be just fine for like riding the lift up and etc. That said, I do have a pair of Gore-Tex bibs that I bust out when it's raining, because when it's raining, even 20K isn't gonna cut it. So if you think you're skiing in the rain, Gore-Tex is definitely the way to go. So next up is insulation. Ski bibs, for some reason, there's a lot of ski bibs out there that have zero insulation at all. And I actually really hate that because I find like my legs get really cold. My preferred bib has a little bit of insulation and a little bit of waterproofing, and that works for me. Half Days makes some, Sweaty Betty makes some. They're great. I do have a pair of Gore-Tex bibs that are completely, again, unlined, no insulation. They're by Burton, and those are the bibs I bust out when it's super wet or rainy, but you do have to layer them up quite a bit. Lastly, the one other pair of ski pants that I wanna just address really quick because they're like so cute are those like really stretchy, tight ski pants. They look like flared leggings, basically. I don't personally recommend them. I find them not warm enough, not waterproof enough. They're just like, they're comfy because they're stretchy and they're cute, but every time I've tried to wear anything like that, I have frozen on the hill. We just did outer layers, and then there's mid layers and base layers. I'm gonna jump to base layers because it's the next most important thing. I wear base layers even for spring skiing. And so my favorite base layers, hands down, are just like synthetic base layers from Half Days. Sweaty Betty makes them. My kids have been wearing Under Armour base layers for freaking years. The Half Days Johnson base layers in particular, I have found warm enough for even pretty cold ski days. That said, for colder days, the first thing I do is swap my regular base layer bottoms for a pair of Athleta's fleece-lined leggings. These things are so cozy and warm. They are incredible, and they've been like a game changer for me for skiing. If you're a big natural fibers person, swap out the synthetic base layers for merino wool. Oddly enough, I don't find the merino wool nearly as warm as the synthetic base layers. If you want to lighten up your base layers a little bit, I know Half Days also came out with a pair of like bamboo base layers. They have a bamboo in them, and I find them a lot more lighter weight than they're typical. So that's like nice for spring skiing too. Let's talk about mid layers. This is the trickiest layer because you don't always need one, but when you do need one, you need a very specific one, if that makes sense. I think in general, if it's an average ski day and I have on base layers and a jacket and I feel like I need a mid layer, the mid layer I wear most of the time is an old cashmere sweater. Cashmere has like enough loft to keep you warm. It's lightweight, it's freaking fantastic. Quince's Fisherman cashmere sweater is a little thicker than I want it to be for a mid layer, but I have worn that a bunch under like, you know, my Burton shell because it has some extra heft to it and keeps you like really shockingly warm. My number one pick for a mid layer is literally just a cashmere sweater. And honestly, if I'm going on a ski trip, I just bring one cashmere sweater, I wear it skiing and I wear it out to the bar after. Like, yeah, it's good, it works. If I need a mid layer that's a little warmer than my cashmere sweater, Athleta makes this like fleece lined sweatshirt. It actually pairs nicely with their fleece lined leggings. And that thing is stretchy, but still fleecy. And I like this thing. It's not the most attractive, honestly, but I like it because it still fits pretty close to the body. So it's easy to layer over and it doesn't restrict movement at all. Lastly, if it's really cold and I only have a shell with me, the layer that I swear by is a stretchy puffer jacket. These are not cute jackets. These are not jackets that I would necessarily wear any other time other than literally underneath my ski shell. It's really the only way to get that shell to work for you, like in all conditions. The other mid layer, I consider this a mid layer. I stand by it. Just hear me out on this one. So these, yes, these are cashmere bike shorts. The reason you might want these is if you have ski pants that have no insulation, even with the Athleta's like fleece-lined tights underneath, which works most of the time, but if you ski at a resort that has those ancient metal chairlifts that take like 30 minutes to get to the top, your butt will be so freaking cold by the time you get up there. The only thing I have found that works are these. Until Stowe changes out the double, I'm gonna be rocking my cashmere shorts on cold days. All right, let's talk about socks. I know everybody, for some reason, likes to get really thick socks to ski in, but stop that. You want socks that are paper thin. Snowboarders, I don't know what you do. Snowboarders, you're like on your own. Pax wears like whatever sock you can find. But for skiers, you want your boots gonna fit tight, you want it to be latched tight, you want it to respond to your foot movements. You gotta have a thin sock. And oddly enough, that thin sock will keep your foot warmer than those big thick socks. Smartwool makes thin ski socks, but you have to find the ones that actually are marked as thin. Darn Tough makes a really good one. And then that hosiery brand, Falke, F-A-L-K-E, they make amazing paper thin ski socks. So once you've got your base layers on, your outer layers on, maybe a mid layer, maybe not, I also recommend one of these guys. There's nothing colder sometimes than skiing down a mountain and having the wind just like whip your face. Having this around your neck will keep you a little bit warmer, and then you can kind of pull it up too. I wouldn't bother ordering these things. Every ski resort I've ever been to sells these in their lodge, and it's kind of like a fun little souvenir. So, you know, go pick up one of these. If your hands get cold easily, I'm a huge fan of mittens over gloves. I would literally never wear gloves while skiing, but I swear by heated mittens. These have been like such a huge game changer, and just make sure you find the heated mittens that are actually mittens inside, because nothing makes me more angry than when I put my hand in what looks like a mitten only to find that it's gloves inside. They don't keep your fingers as warm. And then lastly, if you're going skiing, well, you have to ski with a helmet. Don't be an idiot. You know, I mean, they've come a long way. They're not that bad looking. But you know what's worse than this ski helmet? The ones that come with the rentals. So if you're gonna buy anything, I definitely recommend buying yourself a helmet and goggles. When you have a helmet and goggles on, there should be no gap here, guys. A gap is bad. In fact, I would just buy them in person together so you can make sure there's no goggle gap. All right, guys, whew. So that's it. Thanks for watching. These are my strong opinions about what to wear skiing. Per usual, all links to everything I've talked about, or my favorites at least, are down below. If you happen to be going on a whole ski trip and want to know, you know, what I think you should pack for ski trips, I did that video. They'll put it somewhere up here. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.